I, Mayor Matt Girding, call the July 13th, 2026 City Council meeting for the City of Somersworth to order. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor McNair?
Here.
Vincent?
Here.
Gibson?
Excused.
Parity Catanzaro?
Here.
Michaud?
Here.
Witham?
Excused.
Austin?
Here.
Cameron?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
All right, Councilor Cameron will now lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the recognition of our Indigenous people, our Native Ancestral Americans. This meeting takes place on Indokina, which is the unceded traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, waterways, living beings, and the Alnabuk, the people who have stewarded Indokina throughout the generations. Item 4 on our agenda tonight are presentations. Tonight we have one presentation. We're lucky to have a presentation on the Conservation Commission's initiatives that they're working on from their chair, which is Scott Warzakowski. Scott, I'll invite you up. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'll wake you up when it's done. So I'm 10 years overdue for a report to you. So this will just take about a half hour. So our members are Kevin Dodds, next to me, Jeremy Rhodes, secretary. Kevin is the treasurer. Doug Breyer, Caitlin Stefanski, and David Nagy. Recent projects, relatively recent. We had the New England Cottontail releases at Malley Farm and at the Sunningdale former golf course NRCS easement. They've been successful, and there have been multiple releases. And I had a slide for that. There's a picture. In 2017, the Sustainability Committee recommended to Council that we create a tree ordinance. That was adopted, and among other things, this fulfills a requirement to qualify the city for Tree City USA certification, and that's with the National Arbor Day Foundation. You notice the signs on High Street and on the bridge at Berwick. We bought another one. I'm not sure, is that one up yet? Going to Rochester? Yeah. And so one of the first actions of the tree board, I should say that one of the requirements to qualify for the certification is that we have a tree board, and the Conservation Commission doubles as the tree board. So every member is also a tree board member. And one of the first actions of the board was to revise the list of recommended trees and shrubs for the landscaping plans. That list is contained within the ordinance, and the board has continued to work on the list and recommend the use of native species and avoidance of invasive species. We're lucky to have a forester on the commission to help out with that. The tree board contracted with FB Environmental Associates and recently, within the past month or two, an urban tree inventory dashboard was completed that shows, it allows users to filter by species, shows the locations of city-owned trees, their health, whether attention is needed, whether there's root damage to sidewalks or curbs, closeness of the crowns to utility lines, and whether trees are threatened by invasive plants, insects, or diseases. The database currently only has about 152 trees. But more will be added incrementally as we prioritize other areas. We started with an area roughly radiating from City Hall, partly because this will help identify potential heat islands, which Director Mears is familiar with planning for that, and neighborhoods that could benefit from more trees. The city has invested a lot of money in trees and we'd like to protect them and make wise decisions about what to plant and where. Forest Glade Cemetery is a potential next location for the inventory. The dashboard is not yet publicly available because we're working through quality control processes. Doug Breyer, I wanted to mention Doug Breyer was the chair of that subcommittee that made that possible. One of the responsibilities for every conservation commission in New Hampshire is to publish a natural resources inventory. Somersworth completed its first such inventory in 2016. It contains a wealth of information on water and land use, and I'm going to lift from the report itself for further explanation. It's intended to provide information about specific habitats and resources at both the site and city scale that can support land use decisions and conservation priorities. This NRA provides, and this, we're using these terms interchangeably, natural resources assessment, provides a benchmark for observing short and long-term changes, and it should be updated as conditions change and when new information is available. This baseline assessment may be refined through field investigations and ground truthing and further developed into a comprehensive natural resources inventory. The NRA may be incorporated into the city's master plan and other planning documents. It's intended to serve as an informational tool that may inform future changes in zoning, land use regulations, and policies. Finally, it's an educational resource for city staff, boards, students, residents, and other interested individuals. Next, in 2020, with the help of an NHDES Water Supply Land Protection Grant, the Conservation Commission purchased a 35-acre parcel at the outlet of the north end of Lily Pond, where it leaves to travel through the city wellhead parcel and ultimately into the Salmon Falls River at the Mass Point recreational area. While the property is open to the public, the easement was created with the stipulation that formal trails will not be developed. Legal hunting is welcome. The parcel is important for many reasons, but some particularly stand out, namely the ability of the wetland to naturally filter water on its way toward the city's wellhead parcel and to the Salmon Falls upstream of our water intake. For flood storage for protection of downstream homes, solidification of known wildlife corridor that is supported in large part by a string of easements throughout that section of the city, and it's an important center of biodiversity. In 2020, the Commission created the City of Somersworth iNaturalist project. iNaturalist is a citizen scientist platform on which anyone can take a picture of any living thing and post it, and optionally the location of where it was found. The application does a pretty good job identifying the species and whether it does or does not. Experts can view observations and suggest what they think the species is. It's particularly successful because it has a powerful app to which people can post pictures directly from their phones. The project serves several purposes. It fosters interaction between users and the world around them. It can be used for research. It can help entities such as the City of Somersworth understand what lives where, the good and the bad, including invasive plants and insects and fungi. Somersworth as a whole, including observations outside the project, has tallied over 4,000 observations and 1,500 species. The project itself, which has 10 observers, has logged 2,400 observations and 1,100 species. And I request anybody in the city take a look at the project and join it. 2021, the Commission registered the city for the Somersworth Helping Wildlife National Wildlife Federation project. We're the first committee in northern New England to launch a program with NWF. People cannot live without biodiversity, and increasingly biodiversity cannot exist without the help from people. The aim of the project is to help residents provide food, water, cover, and places to raise young in their own yard. There are goals toward certification, including number of municipal certification, including the number of certified properties, education, outreach, excuse me, and project administration. Somersworth is about halfway toward certification in terms of all measurements except for total certified properties. The Commission has partnered with Wild Birds Unlimited, which is also a participant of the program. Links to the project are available on the Conservation Commission page. From time to time, we have hosted guided walks, mostly bird walks. And to date, these have been guided by, excuse me, UNH Professor Matt Tarr, and most recently, jointly sponsored by the Rec Department and by New Hampshire Audubon. We had a walk at Mass Point Dam. Jenny Holmes was great at publicizing the latest event, and we've agreed to partner for future events. Recently, you may have noticed turtle crossing signs on Blackwater Road. A couple of residents had notified us of collisions, multiple vehicle collisions with endangered Blandings turtles and threatened spotted turtles at the location. They cross in order to access portions of the wetland that the road bisects. The Commission will flip the signs down between seasons to cut down on sign fatigue and keep drivers alert during mating season. The ideal solution per New Hampshire Fish and Game is to increase the size of the culvert and to install fencing along that stretch of wetland to guide the turtles through the culvert. This may be something that could be explored at the end of life of that existing culvert. It's a costly project. We have an ongoing project for assessment of culverts for wildlife crossings and another for formal conservation of a portion of Malley Farm. And Kevin Dodds chairs both of those subcommittees, and he is here to fill you in on that.
Hey, everybody. So the wildlife crossing ties in really well to the turtle issue. Scott already mentioned that culvert diameter as being small and the issues with passage of either turtles, fishes, depending on what organisms we're talking about. But the really nice thing is we were able to pull all of the data from the state website to look at each culvert. Well, we thought at that point, each culvert in Somersworth. I think that some are missing from the database. When we did this assessment, they were sort of on the back end of their survey cycle, and then they started again. So we should probably go back into the database and do this again. But essentially, the state folks were assessing each culvert for organism passage, but then also these other categories that are on there. I can't that though from it's kind of the font got messed up, but there was geomorphic compatibility, and then just sort of the overall condition of the culvert, and that could mean the pipe going through, but also like the intake and the outtake, the shape, and any type of erosion. And you can see, I didn't break out everything, but we had full passage for animals in only 11% of the culverts, no passage in another 11%. And there's some other breakouts that I don't have up there, but so something that we hope to be able to consider working with others, as culverts need to be replaced, or specific important culvert or crossings that we would then target and go for funding. The state has in the past had funding, as has there's been federal funding available. So that's something we could look at into the future. And then Malley Farm has been the big focus, at least for me, over the last couple of years, and it's been nice because there was already a pretty long history of work occurring at Malley Farm, and And our goal now, before we go any further on anything, any other type of work there, is to get Malley Farm, this portion, this 90-acre and almost 20-acre portions under formal conservation easement. And so we were, we were navigating this sort of on our own, trying to figure out how you do this, who you partner with. We ended up tying in with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and SELT, so Southeast Land Trust. If you know the area and you've been to the Scoutland property, that's under SELT stewardship. And so we're in the process now. It's been the last over a year now to formalize an easement agreement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And so the reason one of the reasons that's really important is that gives us a partner for managing the site. There's a lot of, I don't want to say that it's at a tipping point there, but there's a lot of invasive species. There's a lot going on at that site. And if we have good partners, I think we can get a lot of that stuff under control. And so we've partnered also, other cooperators are Fish and Game and then UNH Extension. Really, everybody we've taken there has seen the value in the site. They feel like it warrants conservation. Just having Fish and Wildlife partner with us says a lot about the site, that they see it as an important component of the Great Bay, or the Great Thicket National Wildlife Refuge. So we're hoping that we can get that done over the next couple months, at least move it forward. We're expecting some news, I think in the next couple weeks, probably mid-August by the latest. Just to really, this isn't a great map, but the blue there is sort of the important parts of this map, and those are the wetlands that are on the site. You can see if you're looking south towards Rollinsford in that field down in the bottom, there's some important wetlands that are on our property that also then go into Rollinsford. And so our goal is to, balance conservation with access to. There are already trails there. And so we want to formalize those trails. We've worked with a group that have expertise on trails, trail maintenance, trail establishment. We have a report from them to help guide us. But if you look at the top for Malley Farm and the softball fields, the trail that sort of loops back up to Rollinsford, that's an old forest road. So it's in pretty good condition as a trail. It needs some maintenance here and there, but well established. It forms the base of a good trail. There's a spur that heads along the river there that you can see, and that actually keeps going into Rollinsford, but our trail, the advice from the contractors and how we feel about the site was it made a lot of sense to stop that short because it gets very close to the river. And then there's also wetlands there, and we think a vernal pool on one side too. So you're getting into some pretty high value habitat that we would like to protect. But we also want access, right, to some degree anyways. And so we tied in with the Rollinsford Conservation Commission. They help manage the Scoutland site. And so you can see, so we have our trails, and then there's a dotted connector that was, I think, the old streetcar line is what I've been told. And so that exists already, and then that ties directly into the network of Scoutland trails. And so you could effectively start at our softball fields, go into Scoutland, do a nice loop, and come back up. And that would be, about, I think, 3.5 or 4 miles of trail. So yeah, now we're waiting. We should hear from Fish and Wildlife in the next month, and then that process would move forward with the city of formalizing that agreement, and then we would move into how we would best, manage the site and protect the site. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Of note, that's been on our backlog for a long time, and the impetus for taking that on was the final impetus was His Honor wanted to formalize the trails, and the commission was interested in funding that. But before doing so, we wanted to make sure that the trails would be there for posterity. Let's see. Continuing obligations. The commission is responsible for monitoring 9 easements annually and for working with other entities on the maintenance of others. We've done a lot of organizing for the documentation and deeds and so forth, and twice we had members coordinating site walks and reports for all of the easements. Both times the members moved away. They're doing a great job with it, but we realized that a good amount of working knowledge is lost every time someone leaves. And so members put in hundreds of hours of volunteer time each year, making it difficult to fulfill the duty of both scheduling and managing all the documentation and so forth. And so we've recently put out bids, and actually Kevin is working on that too, for contractors to do the easement monitoring. We have 1 bid so far. 2 waiting for a third. One of the actions required of us as easement holders is to ensure that types of access restrictions are being followed. New Hampshire law dictates that private land is considered open to the public unless posted. And while there might be nuances that I'm unaware of, the best approach would be for us to post them. This will be a sizable endeavor given the total length of the boundaries, and that will need to post at least every 300 feet. Signs get torn down, and we've experienced that when we posted it at Malley Farm. So that's an upcoming, very soon project. We're already due to update the National Resources Inventory that I spoke about earlier. We assess all conditional use permit applications and provide recommendations to the planning board. Done right, this is a significant outlay of time. We receive engineering plans ahead of our meetings, and I can't speak for every member, but it takes me probably an average of 5 hours to prepare for each application. I don't have a number for you on the total number of applications we receive annually, but over 13 years, I've got a file cabinet full of them. We continue to take classes and attend workshops provided largely by the state and by UNH on a range of topics, including policy, assessment, current issues, and more. The commission had an exploratory subcommittee on management of invasive species. This is a big issue. It's going to be costly for the city. It became apparent to us that it's an issue that no one board could tackle by itself. And so the city has already sustained damage from invasive plants. You may be aware of the effort that the city of Dover is undertaking at Willen Pond for the milfoil removal. I guided the cemetery trustees through Forest Glade Cemetery, where Oriental bittersweet was choking out trees and shrubs and damaging headstones and vaults. Public Works did send out a professional to hit some of the high-profile infestations. The problem is going to require a sustained effort. It's not going to go away. And I'd be happy to provide that report that I gave to the trustees if you're interested. You may have noticed thick stands of Japanese knotweed growing along the Riverwalk Trail and at Malley Farm. Kevin mentioned that Malley Farm is getting overrun with invasives. The bittersweet is taking over the fields. The upland is succumbing to burning bush that takes over the understories. So there will be a lot of cost, and we've got to come up with some sort of plan for that. Let's see. We hope to host more walks, including an entomology walk. We would like to launch an educational series. We need to coordinate trash cleanup at the Lily Pond and Salmon Falls easements. And we will incrementally, as I mentioned, add to the inventory, the tree inventory dashboard. It would be nice to start an urban tree maintenance and planting plan, but funding is up in the air for that. Not sure whether that could come out of the conservation fund per RSA. But we're looking into that. I want to point out that Somersworth is blessed with concerned and engaged citizens who frequently reach out to the commission for information and guidance. And there are many other pressing issues, but we only have 6 of us and a finite amount of funds. So there's a amount of stuff on the backlog, but we will get to it when we can. That's it.
All right, thank you. That was an immense amount of work that you presented to us. I would definitely like to say before I open it up to others that, like, I think of not to say talk ill of the other commissions and boards we have, but I do think that you, as a board and commission, are the most engaged and most actively involved in the betterment of the community. So I appreciate your commitment and your time. It is impressive, to say the least, and I feel like you had mentioned like the Malley Farm project, for example, that I'd kind of like discussed with you all. It's nice to know that there are ideas that can be brought to you that can then just be taken without any sort of oversight or, stepping in from me or anyone in that regard. And there's full trust, at least for myself, and I think from this council, that the work that you're doing is, A plus work. So thank you both, and thank you to the whole board and the whole commission for everything that you're doing. It's really, really impressive. So I'll open it up to comments or discussion. Councilor Gibson and then Parity Catanzaro.
Okay. As concerned the adjustment of culverts for wildlife crossing, is that going, sorry, will that be able to allow larger wildlife, or is it just for the smaller wildlife that you're talking?
Yeah, so I think the way that it's classified, that would include invertebrates, so fish, other invertebrates, insects, all of that sort of aquatic ecosystem to move through, and then amphibians, reptiles. Maybe small mammals would use it. I'm not sure. There's when we were on the site with the turtle biologist, he looked in there, and within 1 second was this. I'm sorry, this is the crossing on Blackwater.
Yep.
Within 1 second was like, yeah, no turtles going through that. And so there's a limit to, I think, probably what every animal would decide is risky behavior or not, and if there's enough light and how quick they can pass through there. So I wouldn't anticipate it being super important for a lot of mammals. I think it's really about fish, invertebrates, and reptiles and amphibians.
Also, I think for you, bittersweet. I know from personal experience. Is there any way to contain it, or is it just an ongoing battle?
I mean, it's always going to be an ongoing battle, but yeah, I mean, there are methods to knock back anything, really, right? Like it's always kind of it's a compromise of what you're willing to do on a site, and then of course money. So, but with any of these things, you can hit them with various herbicides repeatedly, and it's just a matter of if that is something that is acceptable in whatever environment you're using that. So, the less sort of intense management you do. So if you take chemicals off, then you're gonna spend more time. Still you can eradicate, but it may go from, being able to do that in 1 to 2 years to 3 to 4 years, and being consistent at removing things. So they're a nightmare, really. And like, Scott mentioned the cemetery. I mean, really now, driving around, right, you see pockets of invasives absolutely everywhere, knotweed especially, forming like new fence rows almost on properties. And it's really, I think Scott hit on it, where, we can look at it as a conservation commission and at, maybe properties that, we monitor or trying to protect, but that's not really good enough. It's going to take a concerted effort and a citywide plan where, we get together and come up with a idea of either, going after neighborhoods or, certain properties and working out. There's a lot of different approaches that you can do on these things, but it's never going to be, us doing it on some properties, the historic society, whoever's running the cemeteries, doing it there, and then not having outreach, really, really strong outreach to the public, and neighbors of all of these sites. Because if you don't, if they do it on their property and we don't do it on city property, then, we're then a source for them and vice versa. So, I look forward to challenges like that. I think because, you can bring a lot of people together on that. And I think like that's probably going to be a big focus for us in the next year or so, is getting together a plan. Fortunately, there seems to be funding available at times on stuff like this too. So, if we have a solid plan, then we can form that into, different grant narratives and go for some funding to help us deal with this. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And lastly, thank you and all the members of the commission for all the work that you do. I know it's a time-consuming job, and we all appreciate what you're doing for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Yes, thank you. I just want to echo the thanks. I know it's a ton of work. My first question was around trees, and I'm so excited to hear. Are you the forester that we have on the commission?
I'm forest ecologist. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that, forest ecologist. I was thinking about our list of fees that we have separated from ordinances as something that is updated more frequently than ordinances. And since tree recommendations based on, pests and pathogens and climate change and all the rest changes fairly frequently, I wonder if it might in the future make sense to separate that tree list from the ordinance and have the ordinance point towards, X tree report that might get updated a little bit more frequently, so that you don't have an ordinance change every time there's a list of tree changes. What are your thoughts on that?
Agreed. I don't remember how that happened, but I agree
Yeah.
that should be separated.
Yeah, okay. I also was curious about the number of properties for the certification that you're looking for the goal. For folks like me, and I'm sure many others that would be interested in that, what's the best way to find information about that?
The Conservation Commission page has links to the project, and I think there's a document right on the page for requirements. I think it's based on the population, and I think ours is 35 properties or something like that. So very achievable.
Exciting. Very cool. And I agree. I was very excited to see the turtle crossings. I might have the unusual distinction of being a culvert enthusiast. My day job, I worked for a conservation organization that hosted, we jokingly said, probably the first in New Hampshire culvert summit. And one of my colleagues really particularly focuses on culverts, and she said you were asking about the size for different animals, and she was like, the rule of thumb to be the best for both flooding and for animals is that the stream or the river ideally wouldn't know that the culvert is there. So you'd start, on the banks before sort of forcing the river to do that. And there's some really cool like wildlife shelves and thing like that that can be built in some of the bigger ones. I know the one on Blackwater is not very large, but I was also very excited and wanted to ask if you were involved in this. There were the signs that said the turtle crossings, and then I noticed one day that there was like a big, somebody had put like a big pole down like a little bit away from the road across that appeared to be like a nice friendly way that something could cross without going into the road. I don't know if that was part of
Nope,
the
that wasn't
plan.
us.
Well, it's very cool.
We spoke to the biologist about like drift fences and things, so that the idea, at least what I think we were thinking is, turtles come out, they hit fence, they sort of drift to a point that would maybe be more obvious to drivers or something, and they would cross there. But I don't want to say turtles aren't bright, but it just seemed like that the belief was that the turtles would just sort of stay at the fence and not drift, which
Yeah.
like other animals would do. So that was not a good idea that we had. So we didn't pursue anything like that. And so right now it's just that's a really, pretty large distance that turtles can come out of one side of the wetland and cross. So the other suggestion from them that we had at least initial discussions was painting part of the road white so that the turtles stand out more, and they've done that in some other towns in New Hampshire, but we didn't pursue that any further at this point. But yeah, I think the signs are a great first step, but I didn't know a lot about turtles, and learning that some of them, don't even reproduce until they're 17, 18 years old. So one getting hit could have lived for 15 years but never reproduced and kept that population going. So it's kind of shocking. So, but you said like those culverts. I looked at a culvert out in Sanford, I think it was, that they did a major road rebuild, and it's a giant culvert, but I can't even imagine what that project cost, multiple millions of dollars. And so hopefully we'll get to some point, where we can, for the really important one or two that we know of, we can get in alignment for some federal funds at some point. Yeah.
At the, Michelle, what was the conference we went to? Climate Summit. There were some engineers there who said that, for the scope of like the turtle crossing, it may add 10 to 15% when you're replacing a end-of-life culvert. So it's significant, and not something that you probably want, or have the money to do before that.
The other benefit, though, to having really good culverts is that they don't fail as often, because the other reason of that culverts are so important is that the stormwater, especially for places with larger areas, I'm sure we've all known areas of road that regularly flood, and that puts a lot of strain on the culverts as well. And so there's a lot of municipal infrastructure, transportation grants on that side as well. So thank you for that. And then just also wanted to note my support for the invasive species plan. I would be in big favor of trying to get something like that together to get some funding to address that. Thanks for all your work.
Thanks. Yeah, Councilor Barry.
Very excited to see everything you guys have done, are working on. I know you have a very big list to do. I definitely perked up during the tree inventory dashboard. I know you mentioned forest glade being the next one, and I know it said the health of the tree and different things of that sort. Is there any thought about putting the age of the tree as well? Because I know we do have quite a significant amount of older trees.
There has not been, just because you'd have to, that would
It's
be
a
lot of
guesstimate.
work. Well, yeah, you wouldn't even, really to do it, you'd have to core the tree and then count the rings, and that can be tricky. There are a lot of variables. I wish that it was open to everybody already and we could have taken you through it, but essentially, like, we're describing the overall condition of the tree, and so like the crown condition, the bole condition, we have the diameter, which, a lot of these trees you could look at and say old, not old, kind of, you know what I mean? But you could get into some bit of a range, but But yeah, I mean, we didn't really think of that as terms of like, is it a historic tree or anything like that, just because of the limits of being able to do it somewhat accurately. But we would be able to look at, the size distribution of the trees with the idea that the larger trees are the older trees in the city, especially, if there's like sugar maple or something like that. So you would be able to eventually go to the dashboard and look at all trees that are over 20 inch. You'd be able to break out the size and then click on that individual tree and see where it's at, and then be able to go to it. So that would be one way to kind of get at that, I think, without collecting it directly.
Okay. And my other question around that, before I have a few other questions, is like, are we kind of pinpointing like original trees that are native that are maybe, kind of disappearing from the landscape because of these invasive, like that we're kind of pinpointing them saying, oh, we really need to pay attention, like these are disappearing, right? Just curious if those are going to be identified specifically.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, that's the beauty of this project, is that all of those types of questions are going to be answerable, and that's sort of, we looked at it from a climate resiliency point of view too, like what trees do we have to think about that are going to have a tough time as it gets warmer, and those would be ones that, we would think about replacing and getting ahead of. You can pull out, ash trees that are getting killed by emerald ash borer, and those can be targeted for removal or just for monitoring, so that okay, these are in a bad condition. In the next 3 years, we're going to have to probably replace those and replant something. So it really provides a snapshot that you can use for almost anything like that. Tree health, tree damage over time. If a tree's really significantly damaged, then again, like you sort of start thinking or planning like, we might need to replace that, over the next 5 years or something.
Or move, not replace it, move the planting somewhere else so it doesn't get hit by a plow, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. I love hearing about the education part, because I think most of us, if you have a yard here, you're dealing with the bittersweet, the Russian olive, the knotweed. I can list 1,000 I've pulled out of my yard, and they're already growing back because I'm not a big fan of pesticides and different things. So I'm excited to see having more education around that, because like you said, if your yard has it, your neighbor's yard has it, the city has it, everybody's dealing with the same thing, and trying to knock it out is just, it feels endless, to be very honest. One other question I kind of had, is there any hope that for rodenticide, sorry, I'm not saying that probably very well, or pesticide, like what are you guys are putting anything forward to the city saying we don't want to do this and here's why, or we should hinder those in certain areas or anything like that? Is that a hope for another future possibility on the list? I know you have a lot already, but.
So case by case basis. Any pesticides have to be applied by a licensed pesticide person. We couldn't do it ourselves. So there are things that you can do that don't involve pesticides, like with the bittersweet, clip it at the base so it doesn't march, on at Mallee Farm. That's what we've done some, but we don't have any specific recommendations for what to avoid or that kind of thing. We could look at it.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Councilor Michaud and then Councilor Perry-Canzero.
Yeah, I have no questions, but I just want to thank you guys for everything you guys are doing. I really appreciate it, and you're doing amazing work. Also, I want to thank you again. I remember several years back you had a walkthrough down by the Mallee Farm. You invited me. I really enjoyed the walk. I never knew all of that was down there. I was very surprised and very pleased. So once again, thank you for everything you're doing, and just keep up the amazing work. Thank you.
And Councilor Perry-Canzero.
Yeah, I meant to mention, you all might be interested or know others that are interested. There's a conversation on July 28th around the eelgrass situation in Great Bay, which I know are wastewater treatment. We've talked many, many times about the city's effort in trying to reduce nitrogen, and we get some really discouraging news about the eelgrass population in Great Bay, but there's a lot of good information around that. So if you or others want to look up information for that event, let me know. I can send you the link, or you can search it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Being no others, appreciate it very, very much. Thanks,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Right. That'll bring us to item 5 on our agenda, which are any scheduled public hearings. Tonight we have one public hearing. We have a public hearing on Resolution 1-27, which is a vote to authorize the city manager to apply for a public facilities community development block grant for the Community Development Finance Authority, from the Community Development Finance Authority for the library expansion and accessibility improvement project. For this public hearing, we have a very specific process we need to follow per the grant, so please bear with me as I work us through the process. I have something I'll need to read, and then we'll open it up to public comment. The Community Development Block Grant funds are available to municipalities through the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $750,000 annually is available on a competitive basis for public facilities, up to $1 million for housing, and up to $500,000 for economic development, microenterprise, and emergency activities. Up to $25,000 is available for planning grants. The proposed project must directly benefit a majority low and moderate income persons. This is a proposed application to the Community Development Finance Authority for a CDBG public facilities grant of up to $750,000. The funds will support renovations at the Somersworth Library in Somersworth, New Hampshire. This project satisfies the national objectives of direct benefit to low to moderate income households, LMH, census data for low and moderate income individuals, LMISD, or income verification methods are proposed to ensure that individuals and households served qualify as low to moderate income. This project proposes to increase ADA and code compliance, make collections fully accessible at all levels, expand the accessibility and visibility of routes to restrooms, and improve amenities in the children's room at the Somersworth Public Library. This project is consistent with the city's 2026 Housing and Community Development Plan, goals and objectives of Goal B, which is to encourage the protection, enhancement, and renovation of historical and cultural structures in the community, and City Objective 1, which is to preserve and expand access to public facilities for all users in the community, which is a short-term and long-term goal. As part of the city's Housing and Community Development Plan, the city also maintains a public participation plan, which will be submitted in fulfillment of the CDBG application threshold requirement for a public participation plan. The Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan states in general that if the city were to undertake a CDBG project that involves displacement and resulting relocation, the city would follow the Uniform Relocation Act requirements. The Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan outlines the measures the city would take to find comparable housing for persons or businesses displaced and or relocated. The city currently owns the public facility. As such, there is no anticipated displacement resulting from the proposed grant application. If the city council is supportive of submitting an application, they will authorize submission of the grant application, including authorizing the city manager to submit the application and execute an associated agreements or documents. They will adopt the updated 2026 Housing and Community Development Plan, and they will adopt the project and location-specific resident anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan by means of the following resolution, which is Resolution 1-27. Do we need to read the resolution at this time? Okay, City Clerk, will you read, or meeting later in the process? Great, saves us a little bit of time. So I will now open the hearing and solicit comments for this action. Are there any members of the public here regarding the proposed application? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for comments from the public regarding our 2026 Housing and Community Development Plan. Anyone wishing to speak towards that? Okay, seeing none. Are there any members of the public here to speak regarding the project-specific residential anti-displacement plan? All right, seeing none, I will then close the public hearing on Resolution 1-27. All right. That brings us to item 6 on the agenda, which is comments by visitors. The Somersworth City Council and Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rule 7-C, a time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. The speaker shall not enter into a debate with any persons, the mayor, council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Thanks. If you could state your name and where the ward in which you live.
Ethan Clark, Ward 1. I just want to publicly thank our Public Works and City Manager Department and all of you for your support on the paving of the filling on Rocking Hill Road. We're very happy and just wanted to publicly thank everybody for their involvement with that. I also want to encourage our citizens, kind of mirror some of the comments from the last meeting. We have an amazing structure of government here, and I want to commend our city manager, Mr. Moore, for meeting with me, and really just encourage our public that if you have issues, we have an amazing council here. And obviously with the 4th of July celebration, it was amazing to see most of you out in the community and encouraging our citizens, so I want to thank every single one of you. I know sometimes it can maybe come off that I just complain, but as most of the citizens can attest, I'm one of the first people that say, if you don't show up and say something, don't complain. I want to publicly thank every single one of you. I know that the oath that you take to take this office and to serve this community is not something that you take lightly, and I do appreciate the service that you guys give our community. Also publicly want to thank Mr. Vincent as well. Almost every single event that I went to around July 4th was in some way, shape, or form had Hilltop Fireworks represented in a capacity that wasn't just people spending. I mean, obviously you did great, but I know we joke around a lot about it, but it really does mean a lot, the amount that you give our community to be able to celebrate, and I wanted to thank you very much for that. And for all the differences, I'm not sure about any of you, but it really just, this July 4th, more than most, it really just brought back to mind just how much we as Americans share and have in common than we do that divides us. And I really just want to thank every single one of you council members that reached out to me and really do a great job of, talking to our citizens one-on-one in the service that you guys give us. And I hope that continues throughout the year with our citizens. And I want to encourage all our citizens to contact and have a relationship with your council members, speak with them. They care about our community, and it was just an amazing celebration. I want to thank every single one of you for your part in it. So thank you very much, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you. Any others wishing to make comment this evening? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the approval of the consent calendar. The chair will obtain a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes the minutes of the City Council non-public meeting held on June 15th, 2026, as well as the minutes of the City Council meeting held on June 15th, 2026. Do I have a motion? Councilor Cameron?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilor Cameron makes a motion to approve the consent calendar, seconded by Councilor Austin. Question for the council is on the adoption of the consent calendar. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, ayes have it. A consent calendar is adopted. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda is the acceptance of written communications, petitions, and donations. Tonight we have 3 items under this agenda item. We have the donation of an unmarked police vehicle from the New England State Police Information Network. We also have a donation of $2,500 to the city's What If program from Ken Vincent. And we also have a donation of $1,000 to the Noble Pines baseball field from Ken Vincent. I will look for a motion from the council to accept these 3 donations. Councilor Barry.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilor Vincent.
I'd like to recluse myself from this. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Councilor Barry.
I move for all 3 to be accepted.
Thank you. Councilor Barry moves to accept the 3 donations, seconded by Councilor Cameron. Motion for the council is to accept the 3 donations before us this evening. Discussion. Councilor Barry.
Again, I'm pretty much on repeat, like why wouldn't we? This is amazing. I just want to say, I know a lot of work goes into finding donations. If people don't come forward, I also will say I know people, two part on here, one person who comes forward a lot. So I want to say thank you to him who recused himself. But, you know, it takes a lot of work to find these. And I think we should not put that aside just because somebody is giving money. That people have to go out there, get boots on the ground. It takes a lot of work. So
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Gibson?
Yes, agreement with Councilor Berry on what she had to say. And I also want to thank Mr. Vincent for his numerous contributions to the community. It's nice to see somebody that's doing what they can to help the community in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the acceptance of the donations, you'll state by saying aye. If you're not, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, ayes have it. Donations are accepted. Thank you. All right, brings us to item 9, which is the mayor's report. the official passing of the donation. Thank you. Is that to you? If only I could just take that. Just kidding. All right, it brings us to the mayor's report. I do want to keep my comments brief this evening. I hope everyone is having a great summer so far and have had a safe and happy 4th of July. I want to thank the City Council for its unanimous approval of the bonding process for the library project at our last meeting. Also want to remind folks that applications for the What If Fund are now open. We've already received some, so keep sending them in. We'll begin the vetting process soon, and hopefully we'll be awarding those $500 grants very soon. And again, a huge heartfelt thank you to Councilor Vincent for his donation this evening of the $2,500 to the fund. That will allow for 5 more projects to be funded, which is 5 more things in the city that can get done, and will certainly increase engagement and improvement efforts. So thank you again so much for the donations. That's really, truly appreciated. Besides the What If Fund, there's also grants available for artists right now. Our city is seeking applications for artist installations to help beautify the city's downtown and raise awareness of climate change, thanks to a grant from the Piscataqua Region Estuaries Partnership. So visit our city website if you're interested in that. And though summer is often when things slow down and people take time for much needed rest and relaxation, I want to let people know that our great city has so many exciting opportunities still available. So keep paying attention to what's happening this summer. There's a lot going on. And lastly, as is mentioned in the city manager's report that he has before us tonight, I wanted to mention this as well tonight. We recognized that our September 8th meeting that we had previously approved and planned to have actually conflicts with the September state primary. So there's an election that day of our meeting. And since this ward and this building and this space is, they vote here in this space in council chambers, we don't want to interfere with the election process. Thought about how we should handle that, certainly considered a number of options, such as like maybe we have our meeting at the Black Box Theater, which we've done before many years ago. I think we did that during COVID, right? Which would work, but thought about changing the date. But honestly, I think as of now, it's best and easiest if we just cancel that September 8th meeting. We have another meeting in September. So anything that needs to get done, as long as it's not a super priority, we can put till then. I certainly do reserve the right to call a special meeting if necessary, but I don't plan to do so as of right now. But obviously, if something super important comes up and we need to meet in a timely fashion, I will alert you all and let you guys know. But as of right now, consider that September 8th meeting canceled. And that respectfully concludes my report. Do you have a quick question, Councilor Gibson, about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because the city council approves the meeting schedule, should it require a vote by the council to cancel it?
A pretty good question. I think most of the meetings are at the call of the chair, and with me being the chair, I believe that I technically do set agendas and set meeting times, even though we have a calendar approved. So maybe we have a meeting that night, but there will be no agenda. How about that?
Okay, I can live with that.
You can come if you want.
Good question, though. I like that. All right, brings us to item 10, which is the city manager's report. City manager, you're recognized.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. This evening, under the city manager action items, I have 3 of them, which the mayor, I understand, will recognize me to introduce during that portion of the meeting, which I look forward to. Next, I want to bring your attention to several of the informational items included in your packet this evening. The first is, this is the first meeting we've had since we've been made aware that we have been awarded the $1.3 million in brownfields cleanup funds for the 261 Main Street, the former Prince's Garage site. You all have had much more experience with this project and the project need than I have. I'm aware that I believe we've submitted, staff has 3 times for these funds. So it's really significant accomplishment. I want to recognize Director Mears for the consistent, repeated work of trying to advocate for this cleanup. We are starting to see the paperwork associated with following up on this, and we'll move it forward and keep you updated. But that's a really wonderful accomplishment and project to see move forward. Next, in accordance with your council rules, you have a very specific protocol that's kicked off in the event of a resignation from the school board. We have, as you have been made aware, a resignation from the school board by Bridget Jameson. Notification of this is included in your packet this evening. That's one of the requirements in your protocol. The other is that after such time as you are notified at a city council meeting, the applications from residents of Ward 3 can be accepted by the city clerk, so beginning tomorrow, those applications can be received. And also in accordance with your rules, no sooner than 14 days can a vote take place on any of those applications. That won't be a problem here. We have those days and more before your August meeting. Hopefully there will be applicants for you to consider as early as that time, but they are there. And then any of those rules that you have can be waived with 2/3 votes of your members present and voting. That is for if you decide to waive for any reason any of those rules set out. So that's your process set forth in your council rules, and the clerk and I will take you through it. And we will also announce and make aware notification to the public about the opportunity to apply. You may recall a few meetings back in May, we had the presentation from the Stratford Regional Planning Commission of the parking study that was completed. That document is now complete. It is posted on our website, and we'll be working from the staff perspective to bring back future action items and guidance for you from a policy perspective on that project. Just wanted to highlight for you the good work being done in the Forest Glade Cemetery on the monument restoration, which is nearing completion, if not completed already. That is stewarded by our Public Works Department as well as the trustees of the cemetery trustees. So one of those quiet projects that gets done through the volunteer work and the work of our Public Works Department for improvement in the cemetery there. The 2026 Water Quality Report has been made available and posted. This is a requirement for communicating with the public about our water quality, meeting standards and other characteristics of our system and supply. I want to call particular attention to your packet and the really the 3 or 4 pages of narrative and explanation about the various police department grants that are underway at various stages. We bring these to you at a time when they are awarded and they are accepted. there's much work that goes on on these projects in applying with the police department staff. There's much work that goes on in the background of these projects with our finance department and police department to access these funds. Most all of them are through the federal government and the variety of federal government websites and programs that you need to be enrolled in and follow up on and ensure the reporting is done on. So, and just a phenomenal amount of work and attention to priorities, and, including responding to drug challenges in our community that the police department is doing work on. And you can see those summarized in detail in that informational item. Another significant effort underway that we've met a milestone on, which is the deployment of our SmartGov online permitting. This tool has been in development quite intensively, including the last month, a significant amount of training for the staff that will be using it, led by, again, our Department of Developmental Services. Our online permitting platform is live and operating. I would describe us in a soft rollout. Some of the most motivated and interested, particularly in the trades and contractors who are used to working with these systems in other communities, are the first ones in accessing it. Over time, we will roll out and encourage other use as we are also working out our own operations of it and becoming familiar operating it live with the public. Wanted to bring your attention to that as well. Also, the CPCNH rates have been set for the next rate setting period beginning in August. Those who have been paying attention closely to the rates and how they have compared to the various default utilities will have noted that with this rate change, the gap is closing between what is offered in default here in Somersworth quite dramatically between CPCNH and the default utility Eversource. We have updated the tool that we made available at the last rate setting period, where you can, in layman's terms, access what has changed in the rates between those two offerings, as well as explicit directions for how to opt in or out depending on where you are with your supply. Mr. Mayor, that would conclude my city manager's report.
Thank you very much. That brings us to item 11, which is reports of standing committees, special committees, and city officers. First up is the Finance Committee with our chair absent. I'll turn to our vice chair, which is Councilor Barry. The report from Finance.
There was no finance meeting.
Has that been off? All right. For those who didn't hear me because I accidentally had my microphone off, I've just asked the finance vice chair if we had a meeting. There was no report. Thank you. Goes to Government Operations Committee, Chair Michaud.
And no report this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Economic Development Committee, Chair Parity Catanzaro.
No report tonight.
Thank you. Next is Public Safety Committee, Chair Vincent.
Yes, I have a report. Public safety meeting was held on June 29th, 5 p.m. I don't want to be redundant, so the city manager actually pointed out a few things, and we've already talked about it. One being the vehicle donation. A couple other things that was brought forth by the police department was a comfort dog program, which has had a lot of community support. The program will offset by grants and community donations, and we're looking forward to moving that forward. Another thing is, so there's 2 dogs on this report, which is going to be a patrol and narcotics canine program. Also had unanimous support. There's a new handler selection is underway, and police association will fund the purchase of the dog with additional private supports for equipment and housing. There's a grant partnership update, $189,000 from it's COSSAP grant. It's funding the city's prevention, enforcement, and treatment. It's a hidden in plain sight trailer. So they're looking forward to moving with that. $900,000 state grant application has been submitted to expand behavioral health and investigational services with no local match required. Safe Streets for All partnership. We're going to receive a speed trailer, radar equipped, and roadway safety. Another thing is we're going to also, applications have also been submitted for a highway safety grant supporting traffic enforcement, pedestrian safety, speed enforcement equipment, and police radar, radio replacement, pardon me. Moving on to the fire department, we're in the third year of the SCBA replacement plan. So that's underway. They bought 1,200 feet of new hose. They've got some new software is being implemented to improve equipment tracking and reporting. We had a firefighter out that was on military deployment, and he's coming back. And we have Homeland Security grant funding will support and update the city's multi-hazard mitigation plan. Crews recently completed a live fire training. They had a building on Route 108 that was loaned to us because they were going to tear it down anyway. And so they sent crews out there and practiced, got in some good training there. Training that you normally wouldn't have because you don't have a building all the time. So they did ventilation procedures and so forth. Stewart's Ambulance, they had 150 EMS calls, and they've had their calls have been up, and also they're expanding with a focus on advanced CPR, coordinating cardiac arrest response. They're underway on a community activity shooter exercise that's going to be full-scale drill in the spring of 2027. And the committee discussions on city process. They wanted to, questions were asked by the counselor to my left that was for the cooling center and what we need to do and when it's going to be opened. Those questions were asked, passed on to the city manager and handled. And that's my report on, that concludes my report on public safety.
Thank you. Next is Public Works and the Environment with our chair absent. Our vice chair is Councilor Vincent. Do you have a
Looks like it's me again. We had the Public Works Environmental Committee meeting on June 29th. It was at 5:30 p.m. And the first thing on the agenda was Cemetery Road and our wonderful island that meets at West High Street intersection. So they propose to improve this island. What they're going to do is they're going to push it back and move it over. They're going to, so it's shortening the existing traffic island, installing raised mounted granite curb to better protect the pedestrians, because that's a safe spot because of the distance of the road or the width of the road. When you cross, there has to be like a safe haven, so to speak, or a pedestrian refuge. The estimated cost is $27,000, and it's anticipated to be finished as part of the summer paving program. Moving on to water sewer rate study, the committee unanimously recommended sole sourcing, comprehensive water and sewer rate study. What that will be is developing a long-term finance plan for the city's water and sewer utilities, evaluating current rate structures, customer classifications, mixed fees, and billing practices. I think this is because we talked about if a company uses 50,000 gallons of water and somebody only uses 10 gallons of water, they felt it was kind of unfair. So the person that used, the people that, or the companies that use more water should be paying more. That's what the talks was about. Moving on. So Verizon Wireless Host Agreement. The committee unanimously supported to move forward with Verizon Wireless Host Agreement for Hamilton Street water tank, subject to final legal and technical review. And the agreement would be improving the cellular coverage in the area of the city. If you have Verizon, man, it's touch and go. It's really tough to be able to take and do business, personal matters. So I'm hoping this is going to take care of the problem because we know that they've experienced some really weak service. Miscellaneous staff will inspect and report roadway defects near Green Street and Stackpole Road intersection. It was brought up to the committee that so when you're down on Stackpole Road and you're coming off onto Green Street, the angle of that street, the way that comes into Green Street, makes it difficult to be able to see to your right and to your left. And there has been some brush that's been overgrown there. So they're going to try to cut it back and be able to manage a more improved sightline. Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And lastly, we have our Recreation Committee, Chair Cameron.
Yes, we met on June 23rd. We had Supervisor Gray present facility use application forms, and he wanted to streamline them because it seemed like all the parks had different rules and regulations and fees. So he wanted the applications updated to reduce paperwork, improve consistency and efficiency, and simplify the application for staff and users. The improved forms will also enhance scheduling, tracking, reduce scheduling conflicts, and improve coordination of event permits with the city clerk's office. We supported this wholeheartedly as all the other departments were updating their applications as well. So we were very much in favor of this. We talked about the e-bikes in city parks, and public awareness on those are made through Channel 22 announcements. Social media and the city recreation webpage will update it. The park ordinance has been updated to include the e-bike prohibition, and physical signage is still pending. City Manager Moore will follow up with Public Works on that. And we had an update on the programs. The summer camp was pretty much full. There were 49 applicants, and we had 51 to 52 spots filled. Their first field trip was scheduled that week. I can't remember where they were going, but they were having their first field trip. Chair yoga was very successful. They had 12 to 18 participants, so that seemed like that was a lot of fun. Pee-wee soccer registration increased from 32 to 40 participants due to demand, so there was a wait list anticipated for that. The walking club is taking a summer break, but will be reinstated in the fall on Tuesday nights again, so I'm looking forward to that. And they also mentioned if anybody wanted to run like the walking club or anything like that, if they couldn't do it, you could apply to do that, and you would just need to fill out paperwork for that. And the basketball program, the travel basketball program is integrated into the rec department. The former traffic coordinator, Will Murphy, will be joining as a volunteer, and the high school varsity coach, Jeff Gregoire, will offer a free coaching clinic. And there was no miscellaneous discussed. So we went over quite a bit that day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, brings us to special committees. Are there any reports of special committees? I have one very quick one. Mayor's Commission to redesign and reimagine the Somersworth School District met on June 30th. The primary focus of this meeting was to meet with a partner at Great Schools Partnership. Her name was Kate Gordecki, and she walked the group through an exercise that helped us identify assets within the community and begin to organize and prioritize those assets as we move forward with thinking about community involvement with our redesign projects. We also talked about data and data needs and plan to meet again tomorrow, July 14th, here at City Council Chambers at 6 p.m. All right. And are there any reports of city officers? Okay. Do you have a report? Councilor Cameron? Oh, I thought I saw you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, the Commission on Culture, Ethnicity, and the Arts met right after the Rec Department on the 23rd. It had to do with the mural on Washington Street. We had some applicants. We have chosen one and passed that on to the city manager. Just waiting confirmation on that. Once that is done, then I will go in full force on fundraising and looking for donations for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Other reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is nominations, appointments, and elections. Under nominations, appointments, and elections, in accordance with Council Rule 17, appointments, following nominations or nominees are introduced this evening. We have John Splain for appointment as a member of the Planning Board for a term of 3 years. The appointee will remain in nomination until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Brings us to item 13, which is items laid upon the table. We have none. Brings us to item 14, which is considerations of ordinances and resolutions. The chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on resolution 1-27, which is a vote to authorize the city manager to apply for a public facilities community development block grant from the Community Development Finance Authority for the library expansion and accessibility improvement project. City clerk.
Resolution number 127, vote to authorize the city manager to apply for a public facilities grant community development block grant from the Community Development Finance Authority for the library expansion and accessibility improvement project, July 13th, 2026. Whereas a public hearing will be held on July 13th, 2026. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Somersworth that the City Council authorizes the city manager to apply for a public facilities community development block grant in the amount of $750,000 to increase ADA and code compliance, make collections fully accessible at all levels, increase the accessibility and visibility of routes to restrooms, and improve amenities in the children's room at the Somersworth Public Library. The City Council authorizes the following. Authorizes the city manager to execute any and all other documents with the State of New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority, which will be necessary to effectuate the purposes of this resolution. Authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Stratford Regional Planning Commission for the administration and supervision of this project until it is completed. Be it further resolved by the City Council of the City of Somersworth that the City Council hereby adopts the 2026 Housing and Community Development Plan and the 2026 Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan. Sponsored by Mayor Matt Girding, Councilors Nancy Cameron, Richard Michaud, Donald Austin, David A. Witham, Bonnie McNair, Crystal Parody Catanzaro, approved city attorney.
Thank you. Councilor Austin, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to waive rules to allow a second reading of this evening.
Councilor Austin makes a motion to
I'll accept
suspend
it. I'll
council
second
rules for a second reading on resolution 1-27, seconded by Councilor Vincent. Question for the council is on the suspension of council rules for a second reading on resolution 1-27. Discussion? All right, seeing none. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, ayes have it. Motion passes. Rules are suspended. City Clerk, will you please do a second reading on resolution 1-27?
Resolution number 127, vote to authorize the city manager to apply for a public facilities community development block grant from the Community Development Finance Authority for the library expansion and accessibility improvement project.
Thank you. Resolution 1-27, having read it first and second time, is now open to amendment. Seeing no amendment, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution. although I got to read something, so 1 second. There, again, all the rules for this one are very specific. Thereby authorizing the submission of a CDBG application, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit the application and any related forms and documents, and upon approval of the CDBG application, authorize the city manager to execute any documents which may be necessary to effectuate the CDBG contract and any amendments thereto, including agreements with the Stratford Regional Planning Commission as the grant writer and grant administrator, adopting the 2026 Housing and Community Development Plan, and adopting the Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan, which was prepared for the Somersworth Library for the purpose of this application. Councilor McNair, I saw your hand.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to please adopt Resolution 1-27
second
and
that.
all those things as written.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Resolution 1-27 with the 4 outlined authorizations, seconded by Councilor Vincent. Again, the motion for the council is to adopt Resolution 1-27. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Berry?
I keep saying it. Why wouldn't we? It's money that people put in, including us, in our taxes and other things. Let's try to get some of it back so we don't have to spend it elsewhere on this project. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
Love it. Other discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're in favor of the adoption of Resolution 1-27, you'll state by saying yes. If you're not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor McNair.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Abstain.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
All right, Resolution 1-27 has been adopted. Thank you. Brings us to agenda item 15 now, which is city manager items requiring action. We have 3 before us tonight. First up, we have a vote on the crosswalk and pedestrian refuge at Cemetery Road and West High Street. I'll turn it over to the city manager to provide us some information before we move forward. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, the recommended motion is to authorize me to move forward with a revised plan for the pedestrian island on Cemetery Road at West High Street. This topic was also summarized by Councilor Vincent based on the discussions and the recommended approval of this action at the June 29th Public Safety Committee meeting, Public Works and Environment Committee meeting. Also included in your packet is additional narrative from me as well as Director Bobinski related to the topic. So if you have any questions about the overall policy, I welcome them during the course of your discussion. Let me just say very briefly at the outset, very briefly in summary, this project was completed in the year 2024. This intersection was identified as a challenge in the as-built condition. The engineering recommendations for crossings of this sort are reflected in the recommendation before you to make the change that this vote allows us to do, which is to slightly relocate the island, make it slightly more small, raise the island through the use of sloped granite curbing so that it is more pronounced, more in keeping with the engineering recommendations for crosswalk of this size, while allowing, as necessary, mounting in those circumstances where it's absolutely necessary. So that closes out my introductory information.
Appreciate it. What are the wishes of the council?
I'd like to make a motion.
Councilor Vincent.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the crosswalk and pedestrian refuge.
Councilor Vincent moves to authorize the city manager to move forward with the revised plan for the pedestrian island on Cemetery Road and West High Street, seconded by Councilor Gibson. The motion for the council is whether to authorize the city manager to move forward with the revised plan for the pedestrian island on Cemetery Road and West High Street. Discussion. Councilor Vincent and Gibson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, you know, I've been here for 10 years now, and I was part of the Cemetery Road project, and I'm disappointed. You know, we hire engineers to do things, and you pay them good money, and now we're at this stage. It just goes to show you that you can have the best people sometimes and still have issues. I guess nothing is 100% guaranteed all the time. So this has been a nuisance, a total nuisance for public works, for people that are driving in that area. And I understand it's a challenge street because what they wanted to do is they wanted to slow the traffic down so they wouldn't shortcut it to keep it going at 30 miles an hour to enter a school zone. I get it all. So I'm hoping this will be the last thing we have to do with this. I know that I think the sign was hit 20-something times, taken down. So this is our next move, and hopefully we'll be able to accomplish our goal. And I'm hoping that everybody will vote with me to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson?
Yeah, I agree that something needs to be done. I've tried to make that corner a few times myself, and I'm not a real fan. My question would be, you hire professional engineers to design something for you, and I don't know what the process was, but you end up with something that does not provide the safety it's supposed to for the pedestrians, as well as providing a nuisance for drivers and public services. I don't know how that happens. I wish there was a way to go back and charge back to the engineering firm for designing this that way, but I know that at most you get a year's warranty on work. But I don't know how you can ensure that this sort of thing doesn't happen again, but it would have seemed that common sense would have dictated that the engineers would not have designed it this way. And I would know we probably can't find out at this point, but I would really love to know how they came up with that design.
Thank you. I'd be curious too. Other discussion? Seeing none, if you're in favor of the authorization, you'll state by saying yes. If you're not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
All right, revised plan has been authorized. Thank you. Next, we have a vote to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source agreement with Raftalis, I believe, to perform water and sewer rate structure analysis and financial planning services. Again, like before, I'll turn it over to the city manager before we take action. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This discussion about a water sewer rate study came up in the context of the budget preparations and the long-term financial planning for the water and sewer enterprise funds. As you know, there is a number of large, significant projects that are coming up for these funds, and we coming at this without a lot of experience with the history of this fund in particular, but knowing you have some very expensive projects coming up, you really want to be sure that when you're doing your rate setting, you're doing so with eyes wide open about the cash requirements to meet the projects that we know are coming down the pike. And I do not believe a overview of the rate study of the rates for water and sewer has been done in the modern era. This is a good practice to do in order to ensure that the structure that you recuperate funds with is serving you well. And as Councillor Benson pointed out, I'll use the word justly. Is it fair to the ratepayers and who consumes what? Especially in this regulatory environment that is quite intense and many obligations of the city to make improvements to treat water to higher standards, both for water that we drink and water that we discharge to the river. So this is a very, I think this is a very good move. This was recommended by Public Works and Environment Committee, and hopefully we will be having work sessions with you to describe what your options are moving forward, and have new rate have that information in hand before you have to set rates for another period. Thank you.
Great, thank you. What are
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with this.
Councilor Vincent moves to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source agreement with Raftelis, in an amount not to exceed $49,645 to complete a comprehensive water and sewer rate and financial planning study, seconded by Councilor Gibson. Motion for the council is whether to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source agreement with Raftelis, I still can't say that name, I don't know why, in an amount not to exceed $49,645 to complete a comprehensive water and sewer rate and financial planning study. Discussion. Councilor Gibson, then Vincent.
Yeah, I fully support this. Heavy users put heavy demand on any system, and that should be reflected in the rates that are being assessed. Using a rather simple comparison, apartment buildings put a higher stress on all infrastructure systems, and yet conversely, they pay the least amount of taxes of any type of building in the community. So where we can adjust things to more justly reflect the infrastructure costs, then we should go forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vincent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Typically, if you're using copious amounts of water, it's most likely going to be a business or some type of big development. Typically, if you're in business, well, you're making money. In turn, I think that's how we have to look at it. If I owned a metal plating company that uses a lot of water, and then it takes and discharges sewage, I just think it's a good thing to look into and check out. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Barry and then Austin.
This kind of, for me, just comes down to smart planning. When we set a rate that we expect our residents and our businesses and other things to cover, I think they would like to know that we looked into it and understand what the cost is, what the infrastructure requires, what it costs to run these things, what it costs to do additions when we add new buildings, what it costs to do all that. This kind of study is going to give us that information, and also what the expected growth is and how we cover that, so you don't see this huge spike. Or, and you also want to know that we're not overcharging, correct? So these are just informational things that I think are smart planning for us. So I'm very much in support of this.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Austin.
Thank you. I think I want to acknowledge that over the last several years, I think the council and the staff have managed this water enterprise fund very well. And we're still, in a positive situation today. But as the city manager has explained, based on the number of projects that are coming up, we want to make sure we stay that way. And the way we've been doing it has worked for us in the past, but I think it's important to have the data that this kind of a survey will generate for us moving forward. So I'd support this.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the authorization, you'll state by saying yes. If you're not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Cottonzero.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
All right, city manager is authorized. Lastly, this evening we have a vote on a proposed lease agreement with Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless for telecommunications equipment at the Hamilton Street water tank. City manager, I'll have you give us background first.
This action was well set up by Councilor Vincent. This is a public safety improvement. It is also a revenue opportunity for the city. We have 2 other agreements in place of this sort. The value of this agreement, as currently written, is in line with the value we're currently getting from the other agreements. That's some $24,000 annually. We will certainly do our due diligence and with the technical language of the agreement. But this action will allow me to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Vincent?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this.
Councilor Vincent moves to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless at Hamilton Street Water Tank, seconded by Councilor Parity Catanzaro. The motion for the council is whether to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless at the Hamilton Street Water Tank. Discussion. Councilor Berry.
Thank you for Public Works and city staff to supply the plans for this. That is in a historic district. I don't know how many people are aware, but cell phone towers are best when they are on the highest structures. So a water tank makes plain sense in these kind of situations. It kind of stops them from putting up monopoles, other structures that could be intrusive to that district. So I'm really happy for this after looking at the plans. Also very happy that they're going to be plush against the water tower. I actually was interested to find out that they're going to be magnets. That's new, for me at least, but love that because then that puts less strain on that water tower. There's no drilling, there's no other things that I could tell from that, so I'm very excited about that. So I'm in favor.
Great, thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the authorization, you'll state by saying yes. If you're not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
All right, city manager is authorized. Brings us to agenda item 16, which is items under other. We have none. Brings us to agenda item 17, which is comments by visitors. The Somersworth City Council Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rule 7-C, a time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. Speaker shall not enter into a debate with any persons, the mayor, city council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 18, which is councilors seeking to be recognized. Councilor Cameron, you are up first.
Yes, thank you. This Saturday will be Don't Trash Somersworth. We are going to be meeting at the Lions Club and doing that section of West High Street. And also this Friday, Walmart is having their grand opening, so all city councilor, honorable mayor, city manager, all staff is invited to join us for the festivities. The ceremony will start at 8:30, and I have lots of fun things planned, so I'd love to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Berry.
Bear with me, I have a lot in this, but just wanted to say thank you, Ethan Clark, for coming up and speaking. I am very much in agreement that if you don't voice what's going on, don't assume we know. Reach out. It's one of those, just don't assume we know what's going on. Most of us do have a pretty good ear in the community, but don't assume it. Just voice it. I wanted to say thank you to the Conservation Commission for everything they do. I think a lot of it, we don't really quite understand what it goes into and how much work that involves, but it touches a lot between species, trees, a whole bunch of stuff that goes on with our city planning, and so thank you so much to their efforts. I also wanted to point out that I'm seeing so much work from the library lately that I'm actually really excited about. I can't always make what they're doing, but if you haven't tuned into some of their programs they're offering lately, I think you should. It's very outside the box thinking with a lot of stuff, and it's very exciting. Also, thank you to our city staff. If anybody was paying attention tonight, as well as with our police, they are getting grants for us. That is a lot of time and effort that goes into that, and that's money that our city then does not have to spend. So I think they really deserve a great pat on the back for that, because that's a lot of work, and grants are not easy to find and also get all the requirements correct. I also wanted to say thank you for keeping on top of the electric changes, because I know that isn't necessarily within our scope, but it does affect our community. So thank you for staying on top of that as those change, because it does affect all of our city. And also, I'm very excited to see what comes out of the What If program. I've also said to others that I might not have a great idea, but if people need help, please reach out, because I'm more than willing to help paint. Just don't expect me to come up with a design. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McNair.
Oh, hey guys, it's me again. No, actually, I don't have that much this evening. I would like to kind of echo what Councilor Berry said relative to the What If program. I've been seeing kind of a lot of chitty chat on the socials about projects that the city is undertaking, and you guys, we need to do these things, okay? Like everybody has something to say about. Everybody has an opinion about what Somersworth is doing well and what we aren't, and everybody's more than willing to voice it and less than willing to help. Or offer solutions. So if you're not in support of something that we're doing or that we're trying to do, I would encourage you to let us know in a polite and non-sweary manner. Respectful, I think, is the word I was grasping at. But non-sweary works too. So let's just try to be respectful of what people want for their city, because maybe what you don't want for your city is different from somebody else, but it's all of our city, right? So everybody gets a say. It's how democracy works. Happy birthday, America. And then finally, thank you to everybody who's been working so diligently to help this city move forward. I love it. Love it. I like the idea of the What If Fund. I have several ideas myself. I might ask people to help me with, but I'm looking for ways to beautify our city. And if you have any ideas to make it more pleasant, like, you know, something pretty on some of those islands that everybody hates, instead of just cement or flowers in places. And I think the community can come together to make those things happen. And this fund supports those efforts. Lastly, just gonna shameless plug for the chamber. We have some really exciting events and turns of event coming up. There should be a press release soon and some other public announcements coming with regard to the shape and direction of our chamber and its support of this community, not just Somersworth, but also our surrounding areas. So keep an eye open for that. And we are looking to plan a business roundtable for not just chamber members, but all members of the business community, and that's why this is relevant here. I look forward to welcoming all of our businesses and having important conversations about how we can best support you to keep you thriving and staying here in Somersworth.
Thank you. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Ron. A couple things. Plaza's looking good. Plaza's looking good, being painted. Haven Hill Road. When you come down Haven Hill Road and you come out to Salmon Falls Road and you take a right and you start heading towards Berwick, towards Eddie's Bridge, about 300 yards on that same lane, we got to do something about that. That road's starting to fall apart. It looks like it's a cut and patch deal. Just bring it to the attention to Mr. Bavinski. Thank you. And I hate to bring this up, but I did state that I was going to give 3 more checks to the city, which was police, fire, and public works for $500. So I noticed that you put it on the agenda. I just would say maybe put that on the agenda for next time, because now look, I get it. $500 isn't a lot, but what it is a lot because the police use it for, you know, they have a function, they can get some coffee, they can get food for people. It helps out all the way around. Same thing with fire, because I know they must. I know the fire department has their open house, fire prevention and so forth. So, and public works, well, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with the money, but I look at him. He's smiling over there. He's going to know what to do with it. Thank you.
Salmon Falls Road with it.
Yeah. This much right here. This much. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson.
I'm going to try to make this short. No. I'm glad to see the Brownsfield grant going through. Hopefully, everything goes right with that. I'd like to get a better understanding of how that works, because one of the things I'm wondering about, where it has to be a transfer to the city and then back to the property owner. Are there associated costs with that, and how much time and energy the city has to put into doing that, and whether, I don't know if the right term is cost effective, but I'd just like to know what the costs associated with that actually are. What if? I think that's a great idea. Thank you again to Mr. Vincent. But please ensure that there are funds to maintain them if we're going to do them. Because I had this fight many years ago. There was actually money given to the city to maintain the Washington Street mural. And because of issues, it was nothing was ever done with it. And that severely disappointed me at the time, because I was part of the organization that donated it. And this is just a general comment. Public service, by the very term, is self-descriptive. It's not self-serving, which unfortunately we see all too often in this country, whether it be at the local level or the national level. And if you want one thing done that can help us more than anything else, send your support to anybody who is working on the anti-corruption legislation for Congress. I could not find the title of the book, but there was a book written back right after the ACA was passed by the Obama administration. And I got through the first chapter and had to stop reading, because it was totally disgusting, the stock manipulations that went on by members of Congress through their blind trusts as part of that whole process. And I forget the exact statistic, but money managers for members of the national government had 80 to 90% success rate on stock trades, versus the market average for the best experts was down around 60%. Isn't that amazing? And finally, please slow down on all roads or pay attention. I don't know if it's possible, but every time I'm out driving, the amount of small animals in particular that I see dead on our roadways distresses me. And I know that it's a fact of life to a degree, but I've seen too many instances of cars who were going too fast, or the drivers weren't paying attention because they could have easily avoided impacting the animal. And following up on the discussion about culverts and road crossings. I'm totally in favor of anything that can help our wildlife survive modern society. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Yes, thank you. Speaking of wildlife, a bald eagle landed on a tree on my property this past week. Just wanted to share. It was very, very cool to just see that out my window. I wanted to remind people about the library fundraising project. I met with the library director and we shared some ideas, and there's a lot of different things that people can do to help. So if you are interested in helping raise money that can save it from being borrowed and therefore into our tax bill, there's a lot of really cool and fun ways that people can help that effort. I sent a message to the staff last week just to start looking into the fireworks issue. So as a lot of people know, there's a disconnect between our ordinance and our timeline that things are allowed and what's actually happening. I mean, they're going off very late. They're going off in very dense neighborhoods. So I just sent in a message asking the staff to look into and inform a conversation perhaps at one of our committee meetings around, is it a process? Is it a permitting thing that makes a loophole easy? Is it, I'm sure enforcement is very difficult. What might we do to help that? Is the current time frame in the ordinance the right one? Things like that. So I just wanted to raise that and maybe.
Refer to public safety.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. And I also just wanted to give the details to that eelgrass conversation I mentioned earlier. There's a conversation on, a lot of people know we're one of, I think, 13 committees or communities that is part of, making sure that we try to reduce our nitrogen runoff in the Great Bay, which is wreaking havoc. So there's a community conversation Tuesday, July 28th from 5:30 to 7 at Bird Dog Farm and Cidery in Greenland. And it's a conversation about the estuary and impacts on the eelgrass and what's being done for those restoration efforts, oyster restoration efforts, etc. So if you want to link to that information, just let me know, but it'll be a really good conversation.
Thank you. And Councilor Michaud.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to thank the planning department, Michelle Mears, the director, and her staff for finally getting the Brownfields grant for the Prince Garage site. It took 3 years, but they finally did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I also like to mention on August 4th, that's a Tuesday, at Somersworth High School between 4 and 7 p.m. It's National Night Out. If you haven't been, please go. It's an awesome event. Well done. And also a question for probably the city manager. We have 2 historical signs that left to go up. Do you have any idea when that might be going up? We have markers like 45 Market Street, one by City Hall, and a few others throughout the community. I know we have 2 more left. I'm just wondering when they might be going up. And speaking about people reaching out, one resident did reach out to me. And you might say it was a sticker shock. She wasn't complaining, but she came into City Hall to buy a bulky weight sticker and found out it went from $4 to $10. She was shocked. She's not complaining, but quite shocked. And her suggestion, which I agree, was something that maybe we should have done, like phased in a bigger price, like probably go up to $7 this year, and next June, July, go up to $10, gradually bring it up instead of going from 4 to 10, like bang. So she was right, a sticker shock. And as far as Councilor Vincent, thank you very much for all your donations. I really appreciate it. You do a lot for the city. And for the other businesses in this community, I challenge you to step up and do a little donating. And if people are not sure what they want to donate to, I get an idea. How about the public library? We're going through a renovation and an addition. We'd be more than happy to see donations to that. And that's it for this evening. Thank you.
Instead of doing illegal stock trading, I probably should have just saved up on $4 bulky waste stickers. Just sold them for $10. Right? Good. It's my opportunity. Yeah, it's too late now. Councilor Austin,
Thank you.
you're recognized.
I want to thank everybody who came out to the Children's Festival and to the Celebration Night, two of the biggest community events in the city, and both were very successful, and thank you to all the sponsors, including Hilltop Fireworks for the fireworks display. A lot of compliments on how well that went off, so thank you for that. I found myself starting to think about, over the past weekend, about who's running for office at the for the primaries on September 8th. And if you haven't taken a look, go look at the Secretary of State's website to see who's filed for the various offices. That list is pretty long. Some names are familiar to us, a lot of names aren't familiar to us, and I think it's time for all of us to become a little bit educated about who's running for which office and which candidates support your personal philosophy on how things ought to look. So take the time to get educated. It's, we're now less than 2 months away from the primary date. It's time to get a little bit interested and figure out who the candidate is that best supports your positions. So I encourage everybody to go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thank you. You brought something up, Councilor Aston, I should have mentioned earlier. We're in the, yeah, I know, you and I both. Councilor McNair and I have been working to have a community forum about candidates who are running for state rep seats in Somersworth and Rollinsford. So there should be more information coming about that soon. It was August 19th, we said, right? I believe so. I know we keep forgetting the date. But we'll have more information at our next council meeting to inform folks that there will be an opportunity to hear from the various folks who are running for that office. So yeah, if not sooner, yeah. Thank you. But thank you for bringing that up. All right, last on the agenda is adjournment. Councilor Vincent moves the City Council stand in adjournment until the next regularly scheduled meeting, seconded by Councilor McNair. Question for the council is adjournment. If you're in favor, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.